did I just ask you to buy heroin or did I ask you to remove reviews? Because the way they would react was kind of like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that.
I'm like, get me away from the scammer, right?
It's a little bit of a harder path sometimes, obviously, because you're paving the way. We have over 600 brands. We have some huge brands. And we've removed over 14,000 reviews.
I'm convinced. Like, I wish I was an Amazon seller just so I can use your service right now.
Shane Barker is a seasoned entrepreneur and marketing pro with over 20 years of experience. He's worked with Fortune 500 companies, taught at UCLA, and now he's shaking up the e-commerce world as the founder of TraceFuse, the first TOS compliant system that helps Amazon sellers remove abusive negative reviews the right way.
If you don't know your numbers, nobody's going to buy your business. What is your time worth? If you're up at 3 a.m. doing your books, find somebody. If I'm $250 an hour, $500 an hour, why are you in there doing invoicing? You can't delegate everything because you don't have the money, but you figure out how to do things, and then you figure out, okay, now that I know how to do that, can I train somebody else how to do that? And now you have a business. And the other thing is I have a morning routine that I do that helps me kind of think about stuff, that helps me even respond to my team for Slack and other messages. So really figure out when is going to be your me time.
Hey, everyone out there. My name is Alan, CEO of FreeCashflow.io, and welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to uncover the secrets behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their growth, the challenges they overcome, and how they master their finances. Our goal, to help you achieve the same success while maximizing your profit. Let's dive in. Today's guest is a powerhouse in the world of digital marketing and e-commerce innovation. With over 25 years of experience supporting Fortune 500 brands, he's been named a top influencer and trusted voice in the marketing world. But he didn't just stop there. He took his expertise, zeroed in on one of the biggest pain points from Amazon sellers, negative reviews. And he's solving it in a way no one else has. Shane Barker is the CEO and founder of TraceFuse, the first Amazon TOS compliant AI power system for ethically removing negative reviews. Since launching in 2022, TraceFuse has already helped over 600 brands and removed more than 14,000 harmful reviews, all while playing by Amazon's strict rules. Featured on MSN, Business Insider, and Yahoo Finance, Shane and his team are redefining what it means to protect your brand's reputation on the world's biggest e-commerce marketplace. So if you're an Amazon seller, an e-commerce brand owner, or just someone who loves a great startup story, you do not want to miss this conversation. Let's welcome to the show, Shane Barker. Shane, welcome.
Alan, thanks for having me, man. You make me sound awesome, buddy. I mean, I thought
that's
I was
'cause you
somewhat awesome. I mean, you took me to that next level. You're a good hype guy. I want to meet this guy, Shane. He sounds awesome.
Yeah, and that's you, and we absolutely deserve it.
I appreciate
Shane,
that.
just to continue with the hype, can you just share a little bit more about your background, really what inspired you to start your business?
Yeah. So I have a pretty decorated background of I've done a lot of different things in life, but really I've always started off in the restaurant industry. This was, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago or so. I'm an old soul in this industry, but started off in the restaurant industry, started off as a busser. I worked at a restaurant called Chevy's Mexican Restaurant and really went all the way up to management, actually went through and actually even opened restaurants. So I started literally from the ground and went to, I wasn't the owner of the restaurants by any means, but we would travel around and open them. So I was always in the service industry of kind of, they always called it service beyond expectation, which was like, just making sure that you're doing, you want to do things for people before they think that they need them, right? In the service industry. So I grew up there. That was probably one of the only jobs where I worked for somebody other than myself. And then after that, I actually opened a bar in Chico, California. So if anybody knows about Chico, Sierra Nevada is the big beer there. I opened up one of the restaurants there, Chevy's there. And then there was a gentleman that was trying to open this bar. And I said, I can help you open the bar. And was a young guy at that point. I mean, still young, at that point. And so, yeah, I went and helped him open the bar. We partnered up on the bar and opened that and was doing that and was traveling around as well and did, tons of traveling. I've been to 30, 40 different countries and really, pride myself on doing that. Went to Costa Rica, went to school in Costa Rica, like I said, 100 years ago or so a long time ago. So, that was kind of the journey. And then I jumped in the digital space. And while I was doing school and everything, and even running my business, I had a company called Hot Pad. It was a reusable heat pack that we did, that I would do like kiosks in the mall. So if you see people in the mall, I was selling those. I had 3 different malls that we did, and we brought products in from, at that time it was Korea. And so we brought those in, we got a patent on them and did some things there. So that was interesting. We did that. That was more, direct to consumer, obviously. And then I've done, so many other things. I mean, I had a real estate company that we would help people that were put in bad loans. I did that for a number of years. And once again, it was really awesome being able to help people. We used to help people lower their property taxes. Once again, I have a very, very thick background. I mean, it's a lot of different things.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, the last probably 20, 25 years have been in the digital space. So anything online. I would really big on the SEO side of things, on building websites, lead generation, influencer marketing. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. I used to teach at UCLA with a colleague of mine, Amanda, helped create the influencer marketing program there. And then once again, so just all kinds of other stuff. And now we have TraceFuse, which is as you mentioned earlier, is a software that we've created to be able to help Amazon sellers remove negative reviews that obviously hurt their listings, hurt sales. And we're just looking for reviews that are in violation of Amazon's own guidelines. So they break Amazon's rules, and Amazon maybe missed them through their first try at being able to get those removed. And so we're like the second tier that come in and help sellers talk to Amazon and be able to get those reviews removed. So that is pretty much my background in a nutshell. There's other things I'm sure I forgot about because I'm older and getting frail, but that's about it for right now.
Yeah, what a decorated background, right? I'm sure it took you
Yeah.
200 years to get there, but it sounds amazing, right?
I am very old. Yes.
Shane, so tell us about the early days, right? People love hearing a little of a struggle story, right? So what are the things that you had to maybe even convince your customers, maybe who are here today, or yeah, this is a totally a legit thing. This is totally gonna work. I'm not a scammer. I'm working with Amazon to make sure that you guys are gonna get more sales and not being affected by these negative reviews.
I would tell you. So it is a perseverance type story because when we started the company about 5 years ago, and I say we, I was the owner of the company, and the hard part. So the way that the company came about was I was talking. I had clients that were selling in the Amazon space, and I was pretty familiar with the Amazon space. I was more direct to consumer, but we would recommend Amazon and Walmart and other platforms, obviously. And what was interesting is that when we're looking at Amazon, I would ask, some of the sellers and saying, "Hey, what are your guys' issues? Like, what are the issues?" Because I was always wanted to do like a SaaS product or something like that. I'd always done more service-based things, and so they're like, "Hey, reviews." And so I was like, "Reviews." And it's like, "Okay, well, let me think about that." And I'm like, I don't think, I did a lot online reputation management. I didn't even tell you about this a long time ago for like celebrities down in LA, probably in
Oh,
your area actually.
oh,
And so I've done a lot of that on how to get things removed and push things down and all the fun stuff. And so I was kind of looking at this. I thought, oh, this should be too difficult to remove reviews on Amazon. So, I told my clients at the time, I was like, here, hold my beer. I'll be back. I'll go ahead and
oh my
get those removed. I'm being a little cocky, a little too confident, probably. Well, guess what? I thought, oh, this is going to take a month to 2 months, maybe max. I'm a grown man. I can
Sure,
figure this
sure.
out. 2 years later, it took 2 years to crack the code. It was not a easy process. We were, and when I mean 2 years, I don't mean like just working 1 hour during the weekend. We were working during the week and really trying to figure this out and, putting money into the project because we felt like it was going to be very beneficial for Amazon sellers. After that 2 years, finally we cracked the code because I was very close to thinking, hey, maybe I should quit doing this. You can only put so much money into something until you go, hey, maybe I need to, go a different direction. The good part was the last 3 years, as you touched on, we have over 600 brands. We have some huge, huge brands, and we've removed over 14,000 reviews. So when we did this, when I first started this, I went to a show. My first show that I went to was called Powwow in Florida. And I went out there and, hadn't really been to an Amazon-based show, not Amazon as an Amazon throwing the show, but sellers and, obviously software and stuff. So I would go up to people and say, yeah, we can remove negative reviews. And they're like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm like, what do you mean? Why not? It's not that they didn't want to remove reviews, but they thought it was black hat or that there was
Right.
something that was
Yeah.
illegal that was happening. So I instantly was like, did I just ask you to buy heroin or did I ask you to remove reviews? Because the way they would react was kind of like, whoa, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Give me away from the scammer, right?
that's exactly it. Yeah, yeah. Like, are we going to meet in an alleyway? You're going to bring a briefcase full of cash and then you run off in your black vehicle with tinted windows.
Yeah.
I was like, no, like, honestly. So that was the hardest part because we've really, I'm not saying this to for my ego, but like we paved the way. Like there was no other company that could remove negative reviews fully compliant with Amazon. It was more of a black hat tactic and, people outside of the US. And so I met some amazing people, but really what happened is that we really had to pave the way, right? Which usually, in the, obviously when I was in the influencer space, there was people doing influencer marketing, but we were one of the first to really talk about it a lot. So I'm used to paving the way on some things. It's a little bit of a harder, path sometimes, obviously, because you're paving the way. The good part about it is that the way that I was able to kind of get over some of these, these people that were saying, hey, I don't know if I want to work with you, is I put my name on the company, not because I, think I'm like super sexy and people want to talk to me. It's because you could look me up online, right? I built out a very good personal
Mhm.
brand, so you could go Google my name. Really the first 2 pages at that time were all Shane Barker, my stuff, right? I mean, there was even a guy, that was murdered named Shane Barker. There was other
Oh,
people that had news, but I was able to push him down and take over the first 2 spots. So that was great, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to, like, I wanted people to go look it up and say, "Okay, like, if I was doing anything shady or funny or trying to rip people off, like, why would I put my name behind it?" Right? Like, I'm putting my face on the company, and so that did help us. In the beginning, we were, like, asking for a retainer, right? Because 'Cause we're like, "Oh, shoot, if we remove a review and they don't pay us, then we get screwed out of money, so we'll get a retainer." Well, that also is a huge barrier, right? Because guess what? I mean, if you think I'm a scam and you look me up and you're like, "I think he seems legit," you're gonna give me 20 grand to see if I'm legit or not? Like, that's a pretty big ask, right? Like, so here I am going, "Hey, I'm not a scammer. I'm not gonna just take your money, but hey, will you give me 20 grand to, like, kinda start this project off?" And people are like, I did get some people to sign up, right? I mean, we did. But I finally realized, I was like, "Man, I'm putting all kinds of friction in between people signing up," right? Like, I'm saying, we're already new. People are already going, I don't really know. They're already worried, right, jumping
right.
on the call. And now I'm saying, "Hey, just give me 20 grand. It'll be fine." And it's like, I don't that doesn't feel right. So what we ended up doing over time, so we did collect a few retainers and build against those retainers. What we finally realized, which was a game changer, is let's just make it performance driven, right? So it's performance driven. Guess what happens? You don't have a risk, right? Because you're not worried about if I'm not going to take your 20,000 and run off to Vegas and go party or do whatever you might think I'm going to do with that cash. So we said, let's just make it performance driven, which also takes away the risk for you because you're looking at it and going, well, if he doesn't remove anything, no harm, no foul, right? It doesn't, as long as they're not doing anything that's going to violate Amazon's guidelines and get my
Mhm.
account suspended, which obviously we would never do. So that really took down the wall of people being worrisome about it. And then what happened is because the Amazon space is there's a lot of communities, like, they literally have, like, Mormon communities and the Jewish community, and they've like, literally, it's like they've, like,
Yeah.
states there's, like, an area code no, it's a zip code, excuse me, a zip code in, like, Brooklyn that they've, like, 6 or 7% of the Amazon sellers. Like, it's like a just literally buildings of just Amazon sellers. And also in Florida, there's some few pockets, and same thing in Utah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't know this at the time, but what's interesting was what was awesome about it is once we did that, once we said, "Hey, let's just make it performance driven," right? Then we started getting some success, and then guess what happens? Everybody starts talking about, hey, because everybody, when these communities, they want to support each other because Amazon is awesome, but sometimes they change things, they do things, and they don't tell
Mhm.
you, right? So it's very like, wait, what just happened? Does anybody know what's going on? So they built these communities to support each other. The beautiful thing is that once we started removing reviews and people saw that we could do it and ethically and make sure that, we were not in violation of Amazon's guidelines, all of a sudden the word got out, right? So then everybody started telling everybody, and then I mean, even today, every time I meet with a client, because I meet with all of our clients, because I love talking to sellers and I love, educating myself on how we can improve the platform and how we can help people. That really is my goal at the end of the day. I do like cash, but I really, really want to help people, especially sellers. So, what we would do is we'd kind of look at this and we would say, okay, like, what can we do to make this better? And, these people will come to us and I'll ask them, how did you hear about us? And now I'm getting people that I don't even know. "Oh, I heard it from John Smith. He recommended you and said you guys have an amazing service," which is awesome for me. That's very, I don't know, like, I love that because we did build a brand that's very strong and that sticks to their word. And if we say we're gonna do something, then we're gonna do it, and we set expectations from the beginning. We're not gonna say, "Hey, we're gonna remove 100 reviews for you," because guess what? We can't guarantee that, right? So what we're looking at is because of the data and the things that we've done, we know what the proper expectation should be, right? And so we set that ahead of time, which is very important whether you're software, with anything that you do in life, right? You want to set and say, hey, we're going to be able to do this, and then your goal is to do this, right? And be able to say, hey, we excelled at what we did. We said we're going to be able to get here. You don't. I try to tell my son this, like, you don't promise this and then get here. That doesn't look good. You promise this and you get here, and people go,
Over
wow,
delivered.
he
Mhm.
crushed it. Exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly it.
yeah.
So that was what was interesting to us is that, we looked at this and now things have absolutely taken off. I mean, we're doing, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I will because we're, accounting and all that fun stuff. And we're doing well over 2 million a year
Well,
right now.
congratulations.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's
that's all
amazing.
performance driven. Yeah. So we're very, very proud of that number. We've grown since last year. We're actually up about 30% right now. So, yeah, excited about that. And once again, I think it's building a good brand, doing right by people, taking care of people. Not going to make every client happy. I mean, there's going to be some clients that aren't happy just for whatever reason. We have another variable that, if Amazon doesn't approve the cases that we file, like there's not much we can do except file another case, and we do that. So, the expectation is important, and I learned that very on, is that if people think this and you provide this, and there's a problem. If you just have to make sure that expectation is there. And so that really catapulted our business. And so we run a pretty thin team, but we've done some amazing things, and I'm very, very proud of what we've created.
Yo, incredible, Shane. Like you gave us so much insight about your business model and the pivot at the beginning that really drove the rest of the success, right? Going away from a retainer model into a more of a pay for performance, if you will,
Yeah,
right? Which is
that's
more
exactly
acceptable
it.
in the marketplace today. And then you guys are very AI driven, it seems like, right? So can you kind of go into a little bit more of that? I want to know, like, for example, if someone else want to be, TraceFuse Part 2, how easy is that to do? Like, is there a barrier to entry? Have you guys built a moat around this negative review kingdom that you have accumulated here?
It's funny. So we do have, we have built a moat. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that I don't want any competition, because and I've told people this from the beginning, is like, if there's competition that comes on, as long as they don't muddy up the industry and promise crazy stuff and mess up what we've created, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. Even if they come in cheaper than us, I really don't. There's 1.9 million sellers on Amazon. So you do the math. I have 600 brands that we work with. We're this big, but we are the biggest company that can do that, right? So if other companies come along, I have no problem with, if you do a better job than we do, which nobody does at this point. But let's say if somebody does come along, I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm not oh, it has to be me. I'm collecting everything. It's just me. Like, as long as you're helping sellers, you're being honest, you're doing good things, I don't have a problem with that. Like, for me, that's not a big thing. But our moat is really our process. I mean, it took us 2 years to figure that out. So that is just a moat that everybody's going to have to go through to be able to get to the final line, to finish line, right? Because it's not easy. But the good thing about it is that the way that we've created our program is that, once again, there's very little risk for the customer, right? I mean, that's obviously been our big thing. And AI, the way that we're using AI, and the reason why this is very interesting, we started using AI just over 2 years ago. So it was before like Chat GPT and stuff, before that became a big craze. And so what we did is we really were trying to figure out, because at that time, AI, I mean, still, AI evolves every 4 seconds. I feel like there's a new thing that comes out, which is
New
awesome.
model, yeah,
A
every
little hard
month.
to keep up with, but it is what it is. Really, what I'm looking at with this is, when we built out this AI, we were looking at this and going, okay, hey, what is the most time consuming thing in our business, right? And it really is looking at reviews and reviewing reviews, right? Because what we're doing is, what we've built, our LMM, is, what we're looking at is, we build these models, and the idea of it is that we created this to be able to grab the reviews, we run them through our AI software, and the AI just tells us whether it's compliant with Amazon's guidelines or not. So it wasn't too crazy hard to build, because at the end of the day, we're saying, hey, AI, if you see these certain terms, so if they're looking for a cuss word, I don't need to go into all the cuss words. I think we
Mm,
know what those are.
yeah.
Great, they go look for that. Or, hey, go look for dollar signs for pricing. Or, hey, go look for, competitors. And we would feed it competitors. And so eventually it just started getting better and better, as it does, right? The more information you feed it, it becomes, better and more intelligent. And so when we started doing this, we realized we didn't need as many people to look at reviews, because that was a tedious task. I mean, think about, if all day long, like, we would only do 4-hour shifts for our filers, because there's a certain point where their eyes would not bleed, but I'm being facetious, right? I
4
mean,
hours of reviews, I would
yeah, I
bleed
wasn't running
also,
a
yeah.
sweatshop. I mean, nobody died or anything. I mean, we're good, we're compliant, but no, but it was more of like, you just start to, like, you look at it, and after 4 hours, we were like, hey, we just can't do this any longer with, that, being able to do it for a long period of time. So we looked at AI and said, okay, we feel like this is a very trainable model, where we can go in and say, hey, this is what we're looking for. Now, we're not going in and doing crazy, crazy work with AI, right? Right? It's not like we're going and revamping this and doing this. And, I mean, there's some complexities to it, but really, we've gotten it to an amazing point where now, if Amazon changes their guidelines, our AI automatically knows about it, and it'll go and detect it. So we've built that out. It took a while to build out. So that saved us a lot of man hours. And so what we did is, we moved all of our filers, or people that were looking at the reviews, into more filing cases, right? Because what happens on Amazon is, you can't, when you actually go through and you have the reviews that you're going to be, evaluating, we run it through the AI now, opposed to going through humans, we have to file manually. So we don't file with AI or anything like that, because we want to double check everything, right? And we also know that we want to have our filers that we've trained up. We know they're going to know where to file. There's a lot of complexities that AI could maybe figure out. But at the end of the day, Amazon said there's no automation on Amazon, like on filing cases. So we don't do that. So that is a part that's been more of a manual process, but that is a lot easier to do than staring at reviews all day long, right? Because you see a review, now you're going to be building out a case, and we have certain, depending on where we're filing cases for, we have certain terminology that we use and know that we've learned over the years what works, what doesn't work. And so we've got that down to a science. But AI really streamlined it, because imagine having 600 brands, and if they have an average of, whatever, 2,000 reviews, I mean, we're pushing data, right? I mean, we're looking through a lot of reviews, and what we do too, which is something that a newer feature that happened about a year and a half ago, is we monitor the reviews. So that's a big thing, because when we started it was like, hey, let's just clean up your reviews in the past. And they said, well, what about in the future if I get attacked? What happens if it's a month before Prime Day or a month before Christmas? Like, I'm kind of vulnerable, right? Like, and we're like, well, what happens if we monitor that moving forward? So now it keeps the listing clean. If they get attacked, something happens, we're going to be kind of their soldiers on the ground if anything comes in. And so that was a big point for us. And one of the main reasons we created that is because I had a lot of sellers that came to me and said, hey, I just did a launch. I got a 1-star review and my launch is dead. So you could spend production and all this stuff, and in 6 months, a year, you put all your money into it, and a competitor can come, give you a 1-star review, and your launch is dead, because Amazon goes, well, it must be terrible. So people started using this to attack the newcomers, which is so uncool. It's like, this is how people trust me, I know, like, you put your hard money into a business, and then to have
Mhm.
somebody, if you got a bad product and you need to improve stuff, hey, there's going to be some bad reviews. You have to read those and say, okay, use this as constructive criticism, and how do I make the product better? Everybody has to do that. So if you launch a product, you get a bad review, that shouldn't crush your soul as an entrepreneur, right? Like, that's actually constructive criticism. But when it's not, when you're getting attacked, that's what I have a problem with, right? When it's an unfair advantage because you're just going after somebody. Once again, we don't go after reviews that don't violate Amazon's guidelines. If it's a legit review, learn something from that, right? Because I can promise you that the product that you launched 5 years ago and the product you have today are going to be different. And if they're not, you probably need to figure out how to improve it for the most part. Most categories, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the big thing for us, is like, that's why I enjoy talking with sellers, because I learn information, right? I learn things on how to make the software better. I'm not hey, let me go golf or go hang out with my family. I do love my family. I'm not a big golfer, but I do love my family. But I would much rather, sit in here. There's so much information to learn on how I can make the product better. Like, we had a customer service call today, somebody that wasn't excited about some things that were going on. We jumped on a call with him. By the end of it, he signed up his second brand. So for me, it's like, if that wasn't me, I'm not saying that other people can't do what I can do, but it's nice to come in as the owner and say, hey, listen, like, I'm here, I'm listening to you. Like, what are the issues? And it was just a misunderstanding with some small things. It was nothing, but it was turned into a big thing. Did a call with him, and next, he signs up a second brand. So I enjoy that. My goal at the end of the day is to help sellers. When sellers come to me and say, hey, I went from a 4.2 to a 4.3 and my sales just doubled, that's how they feed their family. I mean, really think about, let
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
set in. Like, I mean, that's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
and I don't think consumers understand that when you give somebody a bad review, and if it's warranted, it's warranted. I'm not saying you shouldn't give bad reviews, but really think about it. Like, if you're going to slam somebody, this is how they feed their family. Now, if the product's absolutely terrible and you want to write a dissertation about why you don't like it, then you can do that, right? I'm not here to stop you. But at the end of the day, it's like, really think about this, especially if you're another business owner. Like, don't, like, be a good human. If you can give some constructive criticism without slamming somebody so that it crushes their business. So it's just something to think about. Those are my 2 cents for the customers out there. Be nice. If there's a problem, great, let them know, but they don't listen, you can slam them if you want, but just try to be nice.
Well, we're all humans out there, right? Other than the AI's powering TraceFuse, but otherwise we're all humans out there, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. And I didn't know, Shane, that you're also like kind of a medical hero. I'm sure you have solved so many, I believe, cases all around the country, right, with your technology here, right? So we got to add that to your intro next time. Just saying.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I'm saving eyeballs, literally. I obviously didn't save mine because I had these glasses, but everybody else has been saved
Yeah.
for sure.
There's a LASIK now these days, so it's okay.
I'm probably
so
gonna
like,
need that.
so it's like, Shane, I learned a lot from that last conversation, but do you see yourself as kind of like a performance marketing channel for these folks in a way? Because what I was trying to say is, like, do you go by the same metrics, right? Like, if a customer comes to you after working with you for 6 months, like, Shane, why should I continue being your client? You already, we moved 300 negative reviews. It seems like I'm doing pretty well, but are you able to measure that further for me to prove to me that I should work with you? Like, is there like a direct correlation of I removed 10 reviews and my sales went up X. You know what I mean? Like performance marketing has those kind of measurements and they can even show it to you a nice fancy little graph, Like, do you
Yeah.
do that for your customers? Or is it more like a gut feeling things like, oh man, ever since I started working with him, things just start looking rosier. Obviously the review number looks better, like 4.3 to 4.5, you mentioned, right? But other than that, is there more concrete, like this is the incremental in sales? Is it tracking in a way, pixel tracking? You know how they say these days? And
That's literally part of our journey, right? So, I mean, in the beginning, we started off where we're going in and we're looking at reviews. And what people would do is they would say, hey, I know that I need to remove reviews because I'm, getting some bad ones or some things are happening. 99% of the sellers understand that the reviews are what runs Amazon, right? Us as consumers, we don't realize it, or maybe you do. But when you go and you look at how many reviews they have, you
no,
look at the star
first thing I
rating,
do.
and then you click buy. I mean, it's, as long as it's not $1,000 item, if it's, $30, $40, you're just going to buy. I mean, and you also know the other side of it, Amazon's done a great job that if it turns out to be a crappy product, you go and you put it in a box and Amazon gives you your money back while you're on the way to go drop it off for shipping. Like they've done a great job of really taking care of the consumer, right? That is their goal is like, hey, not that they don't like sellers, but sellers are definitely in second place when it comes to the buyers. In the beginning, it was, hey, we need more sellers, got all the sellers on there and they say, okay, we still love you. We're going to put you aside, but we're really looking at the consumer, right? Want to make sure the consumer is happy. And they put certain things in place that they have to, customer service and respond at a certain time. And they do that once again because they're very customer centric. What happened in the beginning was people just said, hey, we know that we need to remove reviews, right? We need to make that happen. And so great. So most people that signed up with us were doing it because they just know, first of all, we're the only ones that can do it. And two, the value of it, right? Because what I've heard different numbers, but I know for a fact that a 1-star review can equal anywhere from 10 to 25 stars. So if you think about that, so if you're, selling 100 products and you get 2 5-star reviews out of it, how many products do you need to sell? Or do you just go ahead and have us take care of the negative reviews? Now, you should do both. You should get more positive reviews and help us, and let us take care of the negative reviews.
Of course.
What we've done now is because obviously I know you got a CPA background. That's why you're like, what's the ROI? Like, let's figure this out here. I don't just follow my gut, my intuition. Like, I want to know that this is working. We actually have, we'll wait to the end to give the big reveal and all the fun stuff. But really what we do is we actually have a new thing that we're coming out with. And the idea of this is that now they can go look at what the ROI is. So we had a basic calculator on there where they could go, hey, if we remove whatever from, if you want to get from a 4.2 to a 4.3, we have a little thing that you move over, a little toggle over, and it'll tell you, hey, we have to remove 5 critical reviews. Great. 5 critical reviews times this amount that's how much you have to spend to get up to the next star rating. Now, that's in beta. It'll always be in beta because we don't know that is the exact number. It could be 4 reviews. It could be 6 reviews. It's in the ballpark. But what we've done now is because once again, people would ask, hey, like if I am, willing to give you some metrics, can you tell me what the ROI would be? And so before I would tell them, hey, I don't have access to your sales. So I won't know, like if you want to give me access and like, I don't really know. I'm like, well, I can't give you, can you imagine being a CPA and people going, well, I can't give you the numbers, but can you tell me how much you can save me? Right. Like
I get all the time, by the way. I get that question all the
like,
time.
wait, what?
I'm giving you
hold on.
nothing, but give me everything I need to know. Right.
You don't
Tell me
I
my
can't-
exact tax savings right now. I'm
you're-
not giving you anything.
Your crystal ball doesn't work anymore? Or you just haven't paid the bill on it? Or how does that?
I sometimes rub my little 8-ball, my little black one that just says yes, no, maybe, just take it enough. I'm like, yes, I can do it today.
That is I like the way you run your business, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that with mine. I'm going to be like, nope, we don't know what's going on. So there we go. No.
You can
So,
only
yeah,
respond crazy with crazy, If they give you
Yeah,
crazy question,
exactly.
you gotta give a crazy answer.
I like you, man. That's awesome. Yeah, that's, for us, it was like, okay, so what is the ROI, right? So now what we've done is we've talked to sellers and we're like, okay, what is the minimum amount of information that you would be willing to give us? If we don't hold on to it, we're not going to, give it to anybody else. And so now we got to a point where it's like, hey, if you give us some basic information, the idea of this is where we're going to figure out, A, how much do we think you're going to spend? It's an approximation, right? But then what we're looking at is, okay, hey, what is going to be the break-even point, right? Because if I'm going to spend, let's say $5,000 as a basic example, when am I going to get my money back? I'm thinking about an investor, right? Okay, I'm going to give you whatever, $1 million. I'm going to know when I'm going to get my cash back. And then I'm going to know what is going to be my, the output after this, when I vested, all the fun stuff, right? So that's the thing we look at is we go, okay, give us some basic numbers. We don't need exact and just, in the ballpark. And then you're going to know, hey, after 2.5 months, that's when you're going to be breaking even. Then after that, if you go from a 4.2 to 4.3 and your sales increase by 50% and you're doing, $100,000 a month, guess what? you should be doubling. And at this point, you're breaking even. At this point, you're making extra cash. So, and the cool part is we monitor moving forward. So those numbers shouldn't change too much because if somebody comes and attacks them or if they get a review that's against Amazon's guidelines, we have our monitoring in place, which is it gets detected. And then a few days later, we'll be filing cases if there's something against Amazon's guidelines or fraudulent. So, that's where if I wasn't talking to consumers, I wouldn't know that as a big pain point, right? And that really is my thing. I mean, not to mention, I obviously just love to talk, but I also really enjoy talking with people because then I can continue to make the product better to be able to make it not only for more customers, but for them to understand, like approximately what they're going to have to spend and the ROI on that, because that's a big fear. If you're Nike or some big company, I'm not saying they don't care about expenses, but they're like, yeah, we'll throw 100 grand at it and see how it goes. Like, great. But that's not for Jennifer and Bob, the neighbor store, right? Like
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
going to be like,
100K matters to
whoa,
them. Hmm.
yeah. Oh, 100 grand, 10 grand matters than
Yeah.
5 grand. So what I looked at was like, okay, I don't want you to make bad decisions. I always tell people, and I joke around on these calls, I say, hey, listen, I don't want you to make a bad decision. I mean, I would love for you to just send me money, but I don't think that makes sense, right? Like, they're like, and they kind of snicker, but I'm like, no, but really, I don't, I would rather you make a more educated decision on why you would want to move forward. And so that basic calculator was good, but this next one, if they're willing to give us just a little bit of information, it pumps out and so they can go, okay, great, that makes sense. Because some of our clients have thousands and thousands of reviews. I mean, we have some big, big clients. And so I don't, they're looking at this and going, well, do I want to spend 100 grand? I don't know. And does it make sense? Am I going to when's my return on investment if I'm spending 100K? Because I have 2 clients right now that have said, hey, can you remove reviews faster? And I'm like, well, there's a certain process that we do. I mean, I'm never going to do anything that violates Amazon's guidelines for money. They weren't
Hmm.
asking me to do that, but they just said, hey, can you file faster? And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is our process. Both of them were offering 6 figures for one product, one ASIN, and said, hey, I have 100,000 plus waiting. I just imagine a briefcase that I can't touch because apparently we can't file fast enough. But that said, hey, we're willing to give you that cash. But the thing is you have to file faster. That doesn't mean we're not in violation if we file more. If Amazon says this is the threshold, I want to be here, right? I will never put a seller's account in jeopardy. But it's a little frustrating because it's like, man, they're like, hey, we want to clean this thing up. They didn't need the calculator. They know the value of the service that we provide. And they said, hey, I'll spend 6 figures on it. I was like, oh my golly, that's a lot of money. So that's awesome. I mean, and so we're obviously helping them and trying to get them because they want to get to a certain star, right? When they're at like
Right.
3.9, then we get to 4.2.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we'll spend 6 figures to do that because we've lost this amount in sales each month. And what I try to, if anybody's in the Amazon space, if you're listening, I try to be more proactive than reactive. Because what happens is the reason why we have that monitoring is if you sign up today, then you're being monitored, right? You don't want to get in a situation, especially if it's before Prime Day or Christmas, where you guys get attacked. And we see this, they'll get attacked. Then they reach out to us or try to reach out to Amazon. No reviews get removed. And then guess what? Your account gets cleared up on January 2nd and you just lost out on Christmas. Like, I mean, how I explain it to people, it'd be like if you owned a brick and mortar, you sell sweatshirts and they sell sweatshirts. You guys are on opposite ends of the corners, probably don't like each other. And then somebody came in and broke your window, stole
Hmm.
all of your inventory. You put in more inventory and it came on January 1st. You just lost out on all of Christmas. And so this happens. I'm not saying it happens all the time on Amazon, but it definitely happens. So I tell people, like, if you're worried about Christmas, we should be talking in July, right? Because the process is we're not going to file 1,000 cases. We only file 5 to 10 at a time. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's a process. It takes a little bit of time. Now, of course, once it get going, good things are happening. But if you want, I'm not gonna say a miracle because it's not a miracle, but if you want crazy results, you got to start now, be more proactive than reactive. So when sales go down and you're kind of screwed, hey, we can help, but there's still these each days that you're losing money. So I try to encourage people to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, Shane, just from what you're telling me, I'm convinced. Like, if I have an Amazon brand right now, I'll be like, yo, the first thing I need to do is work with TraceFuse and get rid of those negative reviews that's
That's what I'm
hurting my
talking
business,
about.
right? Because
I love.
it's not just the emotional attachment. You have stats, you have metrics, you can back this up, right?
Yeah.
Everyone should be working with you. Everyone that cares about their review listing, care about their business should be working with you. Like, it makes sense to me, right? You showing them the ROI behind it. And yes, I am very sensitive to reviews. If I see a 3.9, you bet you I'm not buying that product. And right now, there's
It's
like so many sellers selling the same things, right? So even that real point 2, point 1, I'm looking at it and I'm reading them, obviously. Some of the top 10, right? Usually what people do. I'm not a robot. I can't read 4,000 reviews. I'm looking at the top 10 and be like, okay, reasonable. No one said, no, there's no one. See, that's the thing, right? If I do see that one-star review, I'm probably Xing out of that tab,
I'm
right?
telling you,
It impact me tremendously. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
well, and we don't realize we do it, but that's what we do. Like if you subconsciously, because we all do it. Like if you go to Amazon, think about where your eyes go. And if you really consciously say,
Oh,
okay, I'm
yeah.
going to go to
First
Amazon,
thing.
but look, the key to this is we talk about the 4.2 to 4.3. That's a huge pivotal point. The reason why is because you lose the half a star. So you go from 4.5 stars to 4 stars. And for some reason, the psychology behind that, we have some clients that lose 10 to 50% of their sales. And that can happen overnight. You don't know if you get
Mhm.
2 1-star
Oh, yeah, I
reviews,
believe it.
all of a sudden you're done. And now you lost 50% of your sales and you're going, crap, how do I get out of this? Like, what do I need to do? Well, we can help and it'll take time, but I feel terrible. You reach out to me on December 1st and I'm like, I'm
It's
going to
too
try
late.
to make
Yeah.
miracles happen. Like, but it's like,
Now would be in
man,
time for the Christmas sale. That's for sure.
yeah. So
Yeah. No, I
anyways,
totally get it.
yeah. You
Yeah.
get it,
Yeah.
man. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we jump into the financial management side of things and get all serious and stuff, I do want to ask one more fun question. I don't know if this is gonna be fun for you, but maybe as an entrepreneur, you think it's fun. So if tomorrow Jeff Bezos, on his mega super yacht says, I'm done. I'm gonna shut down Amazon. Like I'm rich enough. I have trillions of dollars. I'm like just gonna enjoy my new wife, in time and day off, right? The sunsets. What is your next move? Amazon's gonna shut down. What do you want to do now?
Well, if Amazon shuts down, the whole world shuts down. At that point, we just get in our bunkers, and I'm just kidding. We don't need to be in bunkers or anything like that. But go buy a bunker off Amazon. I think that's where you can get them.
Oh,
But
okay, yeah, that's the last
um,
purchase.
yeah, the last purchase is your bunker.
Yeah.
For me, it would be a bunker and IPAs. But anyways, we don't need to get into that right now. I mean, for me, the review space has been really interesting. We really, and I didn't know this at the time, we really started off on the hardest platform, Amazon. There's Google and Yelp and all the other fun
Yeah,
stuff. I mean, that's what we do is we go look stuff up. Amazon is also like a search engine in the sense that if you're going to look up a product, people go to Amazon to see the reviews.
yeah,
I mean, we had a
absolutely.
client that was doing almost 3.5 million a month, and what happened was she was losing out. She sponsored a certain political party, and the other political party didn't like that, which in business you should.
That's 50% of the population.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
horrible
exactly.
idea.
Just cut yourself off. Yeah, like,
You really
but
are.
what happened? They would write these reviews, and it plummeted her product, and she was still doing, like I said, 3.5 million, and then she started to lose, like, Walmart. She should lose all these big deals because they went to Amazon to see what the reviews said, and so she was losing out on potential stuff because they use Amazon as a search engine to look up the product. So my point I believe that anything else I was to do would be a lot easier than trying to remove reviews on Amazon. It would not take me 2 years now to be able to do that. I've always wanna help people because 'cause I'm always been on the entrepreneur side of, like, and I understand the struggles of getting punched in the face and all the things that happen and, working capital and all that. And so I probably would do something that would, help more people, in regards to reviews and stuff like that, maybe that have gotten bad reviews from customers or from, old employees or people that are just attacking them or something like that. I probably would stick in that space, I believe.
Okay.
I also started just getting into collecting collectible cards, which is a whole 'nother
Oh, like
conversation.
Pokemon cards?
No, not that's, like, above my pay grade. Like, if
Well,
I can't
like
pronounce them, I
sports,
don't collect them. Yeah,
sports trading
yeah.
cards? Okay.
I did that when I was young, and so I literally have a buddy of mine that just kinda turned me on to it, and so I'm really kind of enjoying that just because it's kind of fun and, kinda gives me a little side project. I'm usually always working, and so this has been kind of a nice little reprieve, so I don't know, I might jump into I say start a sports store, which sounds super weird because I feel like I'm an adult at this point, maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I would say probably maybe in the card industry or something. I don't know, man.
Oh,
I
no,
always have
that'll be
10
fun. Yeah,
ideas. Yeah, 20
yeah.
ideas, but it's like, I do have an idea for another site called reviewer.io, but that's a whole nother conversation. We haven't,
Okay.
we haven't, we haven't
Ooh,
pushed that out yet, but
secret project
yeah,
down the line. All right, all
exactly.
right, all right, cool,
Not
cool.
so
Good
secret
to know.
anymore, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So now, Shane, we'd like to jump to our section where we talk about more the financial management side of business, right? So what we always believe here at Product Powerhouse is that to have a long-standing business, you got to get your books, your taxes, all those things you don't really want to talk about in order, right? It's because they're important and at the end of the day. So love to hear, how do you approach managing the financial side of your business?
Yeah, and you said it's important. It's not important, it's essential. You have to. Like, I don't you if you think about this, what is your goal with the business? Now, great, you wanna make money. Awesome. You wanna exit your business? how do you exit if you don't know your numbers? How do you exit if you don't have things in plan that if, guess what, if you got hit by a bus that somebody else could take your business on? Like, you have to have those SOPs. You have to have all those things in place because guess what? Like, that's, I think it was like 80% of the people don't get to sell their businesses. Like, they
Mm.
get to a certain point and they don't sell their businesses. You have to think about talk about being proactive instead of reactive. You want to retire in 6 months? You should have started 2 years ago. Like, honestly, because you have to get your books together. You got to get all this stuff. Really, you should have started a year after you started your business or whatever. I mean, you have to have that. So for me, what I realized when I was younger, so I call that Shane 1.0. I'm at Shane probably 8.0 now. I don't know. I'm
Oh,
old,
wow.
but
Very, very upgraded. Wow.
well, it's debatable, but yes. So, in the beginning, I was like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can, figure this all out. My businesses over the last few years have grown extremely fast. I've been very fortunate. And I've had plenty of failures too. I'm not going to try to act like I've been nothing but, popping champagne bottles. I mean, obviously, there's been ups and downs. But what I realize is you got to go find somebody to put your books together. I mean, you just have to. That's an absolute necessity because if you get somebody that's interested and you're like, oh, can you give me 6 months to put everything together? That sounds fishy. That's
Yep.
something they're like,
Mhm.
nah, I don't want none of that. You should know what your numbers are. You should understand where your costs are at. And great. I think, I mean, I have a CFO that I've hired. I mean, he used to be, well, shout out to Alex. I don't know if he's going to listen to this, but he used to be at Kleiner Perkins. He was a director of technology at Kleiner Perkins in
Oh,
'99. So he actually saw Amazon sign deals and Google sign deals. So my CFO that I got and was through a friend of mine. I just got extremely lucky. I mean, I'm a numbers guy, as in I can see numbers, but if you said, hey, go put together a P&L, it's going to be a long day, and the numbers are not going to be anywhere close to being correct. So, for me, I realize, like, if I want to sell my business or also be able to make financial decisions, right? Like, how do you make a decision on something if you don't have your numbers? Like, oh, I think I should spend some money here. Well, I mean, you think, like, you got to base that on facts. Like, this is not, oh, I think I should maybe potentially sort of do this. Like, this is your business. And you get to a certain point that just affects you. Okay, I guess I'm okay with that. But when you have other employees and you have other people, like, you owe them to understand your numbers, and you as the leader of the company need to be able to make decisions, good decisions. And you can't make a good decision unless you base it off of numbers, right? I mean, we can all follow our gut feeling. That's cool. But you're going to go sell your business. You're like, I think potentially the numbers are sort of maybe close to this. We just lost a buyer, like,
S
hands
yeah,
down. It's
absolutely.
you have to know that. Like, so for us, for attribution, so we have used
Mm,
HubSpot as a CRM. The reason
mm.
I'm telling you that, every campaign that we do, I know exactly if we spend $2,500 on an email newsletter, I'll know exactly how much money we made from that, what the cost was, the time. We break it down to the minute numbers because I want to know what's working. Do I want to go with your newsletter again at $2,500? Well, if I don't know how many people came in, I don't know how many people closed, how much, continuous revenue, or how much each one of those clients is worth to me. What is the lifetime value of your client? If you don't know that, then how do you know what to spend? Because if I'm looking at like a PPC cost and people go, my PPC cost, let's say it's $100. People, oh my God, $100. Yeah, but if I'm closing 1 out of 10 people, that cost me $1,000 and the clients are worth 6 grand to me, right? Now
Yeah,
you might not
worth it.
make that. If you didn't know that, you're going to go, $100. There's no way I'm paying $100. What is your client worth? I don't know. Well, then how do you know if that's expensive or not? Right? If you're selling, the cups that are $5 a piece, of course that's going to be too expensive. If you're selling Rolls Royces, I'd pay 10
Yeah,
grand a lead. Like, who
yeah.
cares, right? I mean, so that's what it comes down to. And if you don't know those numbers, then you're shooting in the wind. You're throwing spaghetti on a wall, see what sticks. Like, that works for a little bit of time. The cool part is too is that you can do fractional CFO. You don't need to have somebody and, go and spend $250,000 a year on a CFO. There's definitely ways you can do it. You have to figure out, for me, what I realized, what is my superpowers? What am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? Because if you
Mm,
love numbers, awesome, then maybe you're that guy or girl. But at the end of the day, I love numbers, but trying to get to there, I can make decisions off of them, right? Because of marketing and stuff, my history. But I don't want to be in there trying to do P&Ls. I don't want to go in there Excel spreadsheets. Like, I'm allergic to those types of things. Like, I get sent those and I can make decisions after I understand it, but putting it together, oh man, these
yeah.
soft little hands, there's no way. That's just not my superpower. And if I want to sell for a certain multiple, guess what? I need to have somebody behind me that knows the numbers, somebody that says, hey, we're making educated decisions. This isn't just a, let's see, we are putting in strategies because we know we've tried these 10 things and we make the most money from these 2 things. And we're also doing these things. And now we're, trying to improve our processes. So yeah, man, like if you're listening to this, I mean, come on, man, you got a CPA. This guy obviously knows what he's talking about. Like, what are you waiting on? Like, because I can promise you, I absolutely promise you, somebody wants to buy your business, you don't know your numbers, nobody's going to buy your business. I will repeat this. Nobody will buy your business. And I hate to say that, but that's the harsh reality. And so you got to be able to have the numbers. You got to be able to put that together. People are going to ask for your executive summary and, a little snapshot of what you've got. And you got all this fun stuff. You have to know what that is, right? And a lot of people don't. You can have a CPA that doesn't know what they're doing, and that becomes the situation, right? So you have to know, you have to educate yourself on once again, who's the best. And Alan, we're here talking right now, brother. I think there's a reason why you're talking to me is because I feel like I'm, close to the best and you are the best. So, here we are. So it's
Shucks. Yeah, no, and I appreciate you mentioning all that, Shane. So, like, yeah, that's part of the equation, right? Can you sleep better at night as a CEO, knowing that your numbers being taken care of, knowing if you get an offer tomorrow, you're ready to show them your last 18 months, right, running P&L, and knowing that you have a good number in mind for a good multiple that you're trying to achieve, and you can get there because your profit margin shows that it's trending in the right direction. But knowing all these things, you're gonna chase away so many possible Amazon aggregate buyers and those types that comes in and tries to swoop out your business, right? Which is a dream for a lot of people.
And the thing is, you can sell your business for a higher multiple if you plan ahead of time. Because you can say, like, give you an example, like what I do, ours is like a SaaS product. Guess what? If I have a very active and engaging newsletter, that's a higher multiple. If I have a social media that's very active and I've got tons of people, that's a higher multiple. If I am, my cost used to be this and I'm able to cut that down and we improved it by using AI, that's a higher multiple. Like if you hear a multiple of 2, there's ways to get to a 3 and a 4. And there's a ways to get to 7 and 8 too, depending on obviously a lot of factors with that. But my point is like, you should go, okay, great. If I could sell for double, that's awesome. Or multiple of 2. But what about a multiple of 4? And if I had 2 years to go tighten that up and make that happen, that's really what you should be looking at, right? I mean, in theory, you don't really want the first offer in theory. You want to take a look at it and say, hey, am I ready? If I'm ready to sell, maybe you can look at the first offer, but you should say, hey, how do I make this better? Or you could also just be tired of the business and say, hey, I'll take a multiple of 2 or 3. I'm ready to get out of it.
Yeah,
I've
I
been doing
just,
this
I
for
just
too
want to
long.
start something new, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
still
yeah,
want to
that happens.
retire or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Shane, for those people starting out, what is a good point? Like, is there a revenue or this number of years in a business that you think is a good time for them to kind of say, like, I don't want to do it all anymore. I don't want to be one of those entrepreneurs that can't sleep at night because I'm working 24/7 and doing my books at 3 a.m. Is there a point in time where you're like, said, it's time to hand it over, find a CPA that understands my business, understands my lingo, not to explain too much, right? And then and get the help they need.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I mean, obviously there's a financial point, right? I mean, there can be, I don't want to give an exact number of like, hey, if your business, because it depends on profitability and a number of different things. If you're up at 3 a.m. doing your books, find somebody, right? Assuming you're spending your time correctly, right? If you're on, Facebook for 4 hours, and supposed to be working and you consider that like, research or
Working
something.
research.
Yeah, like we got it like so the idea is that, I used to work, and this is I'm not kidding. I used to work 15 to 18 hours a day. Like I was about 30, 40 pounds heavier for one of my old businesses. And what I realized was like, I'm trying to take on everything, but really I'm the bottleneck, right? So you got to think about this. And the cool part about this is I just touched on it. You can get a fractional CFO, right? Or you can get a CPA. You're not going to charge them 50 grand a month. Like you have to think about this and say, okay, like 'cause maybe you don't need somebody full time. You just need somebody to put your books together for a few hours at the end of the month until you start to grow this thing. But it's nice to have somebody, or at least to help put the structure together and educate you on how to do it, right? Like there's the excuse of like, oh, I just, I can do it myself. If you're up at 3 a.m., you're doing yourself a disservice because is that where your superpower is at? Is that what you want to do? Is it just your books? Well, then who's doing sales the next day when you had 3 hours of sleep? I mean, how much coffee can you pump? I mean, I'm telling you, I used to be Red Bulls and all kinds of stuff to pump because I was trying to do everything.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I'm
to do
working
18
20 hours.
hours? That's
Yeah, like
insane.
crazy. But I was also probably ready to have a heart attack because I wasn't working out. I was using energy drinks. So my point is, you have to look at this and go, oh, okay, if I save all this money from not hiring a CPA, But when I'm dead here sooner than later, because apparently I'm being unhealthy and I'm not doing good, is that a trade-off for you? Well, the answer should be no. And, I would hope that it would be a no. So you have to look at it and say, okay, like, where am I spending my time? Like, that's a big exercise that I do when I used to do a lot of consulting. Where are you spending your time? And write down everything. I went to the bathroom for 4 minutes. Great, write it down. Right? Because then
Oh,
what we look at is we go, oh, shoot. I mean, going to the bathroom isn't wasting time, but like, oh, I'm on Instagram for an hour. I didn't realize I was doing that. Oh, I was looking at invoices for an hour. Well, but why though? Like, you should have an automated system that sends out your invoices, right? And with TraceFuse, what we do, we put a credit card on file. So the minute a review gets removed, we get paid instantly. So I don't have to
mm,
play Visa. So there's certain things that I did to say, okay, I don't want to be the guy up at 3 a.m., right? And because what I've looked at now is like, okay, I have a certain amount of hours, and it's usually 8, let's say, that I can crush. Like, there's times when I had meetings, I'll do 20 or 30 meetings in a row. No, now when I'm telling you that, I will have, let me take that back, probably close to 20. I have an executive assistant that's on there with me. And so anything that I promise, she's the one who facilitates it, makes sure that it happens. And I can just do demo calls. I can just pump those things out, but I have a backup. Historically, if I was doing, there's no way I could do 20. I mean, if I did 10, I would be like, well, now I have 10 things to do times 20. And I'm just like, and then the next day I'm beat. So what are you going to do to figure out to optimize that time and figure out what are things that need that follow up? Somebody else should be doing that follow up. Somebody else should be putting your invoices together. In the beginning, it's you. That's just how it goes. But then you think about it, I'm wasting 5 hours a week doing invoicing, but why? I can absolutely create a video and I can train somebody. I can have a VA. I can have somebody and they can go and spend, they're going to be way better than I am. I can train them. It'll take them 2 or 3 hours. And I'm paying what, $10 an hour, $12 an hour? Like, what is your time worth? Like, how much are you spending? If I'm 250 an hour, 500 an hour, why are you in there doing invoicing? Other than invoicing is exciting because you see money, but really think about it, right? So what do you enjoy doing? What do you need to do? What can you outsource? That's always been hasn't always been my thing. Before when I was eating and drinking way too big and too heavy and all the other fun stuff, that wasn't my thing. And then finally I said, wait, delegation is beautiful, right? And how are we going to delegate some of those tasks? If those are the 10 things I need to do with my business. I love sales. I love talking to people and I love developing things. I do not like accounting. That is not my superpower at all, right? Like,
yeah.
so why not give it to somebody else that loves it? They're going to be able to do it a lot faster. The numbers are going to be correct. Like, there's just huge value in delegation. You can't delegate everything because you don't have the money, but you figure out how to do things and then you figure out, okay, now that I know how to do that, can I train somebody else how to do that? And now you have a business. If you're the secretary and the president and everything, you're not a business. You're not going to sell that business because you have everything in your head and you're everything and you're probably not, you're dropping the ball in other places, right? Which is
No, yeah,
important to
yeah.
think about.
Absolutely. I mean, you put a point exactly. Like a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs to get away from the 9 to 5, right? Because they feel shackled down. It's like, oh, I'm working for the boss. I'm working for someone, right? What they don't realize is they don't put processes in place, automations in place, and learn to outsource. They're kind of doing the same thing, except they're working even more hours, and their return on their life
Probably less
is
money.
probably it's probably even worse.
Yeah.
They're probably making even less per hours if they didn't think
No
about it,
time off.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. So I had an entrepreneur class. This was once again a long time ago in college. And I'd already had a business or two at that time when I was finishing up college. And there was people that were in the class. It was an entrepreneurship class. This was when I graduated in 2003. So you do the math there. And that was 10 years after I graduated from college because I went to like 5 colleges. I was just traveling and having fun. Anyways, and doing my businesses as well.
Mhm.
But I was funny. I would hear people say, oh, why are you taking this entrepreneur class? And they're like, well, because I just want to, I want to start my own business and I'm going to golf and I just want to travel. And I'm like, ah. And they're like, well, I don't want to have a boss. And I'm like, well, if you have a restaurant, every person that comes in there is your boss because they're all going to tell you this and tell you that. Like, the perception of being an entrepreneur back then was like, oh, it's freedom. It can be freedom, right? But we're not selling it as this passive thing where you just have millions of dollars coming in and you're like, God, I'm going to go buy another, blue Ferrari today or something. Like, that happens to some people, but realistically, you got to grind out in your business and you got to make things happen. So, those things you want to get away from the man, you want to do your own business. That's what I've done pretty much my whole life. And I've enjoyed it, but don't get it twisted. There's been ups and downs. There's been months where I'm like, sure would be nice to be able to work for somebody that I had a consistent paycheck, or if I'm going to go to Dubai, I went up there for a conference. Sure would be nice for somebody else to pay for the ticket to Dubai and all the, it's a $10,000 trip. Like, that was worth it. But my point is, It's real nice when somebody else is using their credit card, right? So
Well, it's
not
not your
say
money,
don't.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So people are like, well, take first class, and I'm like, I pay for it. I'm not getting first class. I'll get, no, just eat some peanuts. We'll be fine. So
But it is a
anyway,
business expense, so I'll give you that,
it
right?
is.
It is very right.
Look
Just
at
think
you,
about that,
Mr.
right? Yeah, it
CPA.
is a business
Mhm.
expense, right? Yeah, make sure you get that.
I love
Um,
that.
Shane, that really segued really well to our final segment of the podcast, which is called final advice, right? If you could give one piece of advice to someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey, or even still sitting on the couch listening to this great conversation we're having here, what would it be, right? 3 simple steps, or 1 or 2, something to help them uh, get over that hump, right? And be motivated and be the next Shane Barker.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there is three things that I can think of. So I think for me, the first thing is find a mentor, find somebody that has done what you've done, what you want to do. And that can either be an internship, that could be something like that. My journey in the beginning, when I took my journey, I was very, "Oh, I can figure it out. I can do it on my own," which a lot of the time I did, but it also really stunted my growth, right? Because now you can get a course on Skillshare, you can get a course on Coursera, you can get a course for $50 on somebody that will spill the beans in the last 10 years of their experience, and you can eat that up for $50. Like, well, you got to be kidding me, right? So there's huge value in finding somebody that has done what you want to do, get in an internship, something like that. Don't be shy. Go in, ask questions, take all the information that you can, make sure that good things happen there. Work-life balance, which I hate, it's a very cliche thing, but I was not doing that 18 hours plus, sometimes plus, and I missed a lot of things in life because I was just there's always something else to do. So what you have to look at is like, okay, great. Work-life balance is you are going to work a lot better when you have a set amount of time. You block out your time and you crush it during that time. You're going to feel a lot better about leaving and doing these things, before and after. And the other thing is make sure I have a morning routine that I do, where I go on a really, really long walk. I usually do about 10 miles a day, and then we're usually in the morning. And then that helps me kind of think about stuff. That helps me even respond to my team for Slack and other messages. So really figure out when is going to be your me time, right? It's important to have that me time and family time, and not just crush yourself at work, because that is not going to work. I promise you that won't work. I mean, people say, "Oh, grind it out and work 20 hours." Okay, because I did that. I'm telling you that it can work, but there's a certain point, then how do you pull out of that? How do you make it so, okay, I don't need to work 20 hours, I want to work 8, so now I need to delegate and figure that out, and delegation for me would be the last one, is like, find people on your team that maybe they're not as smart as you when it comes to XYZ, but guess what? What you can do is find somebody that you can train up, and training is the key, that can come in, and so when you go on vacation and you come back, you don't have 7 days of stuff that hasn't been done because you were on vacation. What's the point of a vacation if you come back and everything just hasn't been done? Like, that's not a vacation, because I guarantee you're going to be stressed for those 7 days. I promise you, because I've been there. Guess what? If you have delegation, you have people that are doing your things, you have good processes in place. That's also how you're going to sell your business, right? So you have to have those in place where you say, hey, listen, I'm the head of the beast. I can go on vacation for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It doesn't matter. My team's still going to run it. And I did that. I literally just went on an RV trip. This was a little less than a year ago, for 5 weeks. And I was a teeny bit nervous. I got an amazing team, but I was like, ooh, man, what happens if they need this, need this? It's fine.
5
5
weeks off the
weeks,
grid is nerve-wracking
bro.
for
It was,
most owners, right? Because,
it,
like, you might not have signal, right, in the woods and all that stuff.
oh, dude, I had Starlink and had everything
Oh,
on my
Starlink,
RV,
nice,
but I
nice.
still didn't. But what I realized is like, wait a second, they need me, but they don't need me, right? Like, which is pretty crazy to
It's
think,
a true
because
test, right? To see how
it
well they
is a
can
true.
run while you
That's
yeah,
exactly what it was, and
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it caused me a little anxiety in the beginning, but then I was like, "This is kind of epic. My team is crushing it right now, and they don't really need me," which is, a good feeling to have, but you feel like you want to be needed. But yeah, it was pretty epic, man. It
Yeah,
was
that
a
means you can
great thing
plan
for
3
me.
more RV trips, right? Now that you that first one worked
That's it.
out, right?
You got
Right?
me. That is exactly
Yeah.
it.
Find a mentor, get some me time, which you obviously got, right? With the possibility of delegation. So that's amazing advice. And I think gives a lot of comfort to entrepreneur who thinks like, oh man, like look the way Shane was talking. Like I want to do 15, 18 hours starting out. I want to be grinding like that. I'm comfortable in my 8 hours job, right? So yeah, I mean, Shane, this has been incredibly educational. And I can see how great of a salesperson you are and why you want to be
No,
personally involved
thank
with
you.
every customer. Cause like I'm convinced, like I wish I was an Amazon seller just so I can use your service right now. Right. And
I
then there was a
appreciate that.
question I skipped because it's part of this promotional giveaway, right, if you will, of this. I usually ask like what your future plan is, right, for your business, but I think it might be better we save it for this spot. So Shane, you want to tell them about exciting thing that's coming up for your business here?
I do. I do. So yeah, we have a calculator that we've created, right? And we touched a little bit on it earlier, but really what this calculator is a way for Amazon sellers to come to us. They can put in a certain ASIN, and then they can also put in their sales volume, right, and what they make with the profitability, and they can put that in there. What that does is that actually will spit out how many critical reviews we need to remove to be able to get them up to the next star rating. But then it also tells them the break even point and then how much more money they'll make over the next 6 months or a year by using our services. So, and we did this because once again, as much as I do enjoy money, I don't like it when people spend money and don't understand, if there's going to be an ROI on that, right?
Right.
Because especially because, I would rather than be realistic and understand what happens there than go spend all kinds of money, be like, oh, I'd expecting miracles. And it's like, well, it's important to have some numbers there. So this calculator is something really big for us because now people can go and say, okay, yeah, this makes sense to sign up, or you know what, maybe that ASIN isn't the one that I want to go after because if you have low profit, if you're selling a product for $10 and you make $4 a product, how many products do you need to sell to be able to break even? That's probably a lot. Probably doesn't make sense to use our service, right? In those situations, unless you're selling thousands and
Of
thousands of
course.
products a day, then great, that makes sense for obviously over time. But, this is gonna be really great for us and great for our clients more than us, because this is probably gonna cause it so that some of our clients or potential clients might not sign up with us. But I would rather them not sign up and have the education what the numbers look like than to sign up blindly and not know what the potential ROI is. So I'm pumped about this because it's a free tool. They can go in. Obviously, they can go down to the bottom here and they can click on that and be able to go and check it out and see when would be a point, how many reviews, approximately how many reviews they need to remove on that certain listing, the certain ASIN. And then once again, when would the ROI, when does the money start coming in from the investment that you made? So I'm super pumped about it, man. It's going to be awesome.
It's groundbreaking, honestly, Shane, right? Like it should give everyone a extreme comfort level that you're there to help. You're not there to take their money. You're there to really help them. And only if it makes sense, right? Should they go with TraceFuse? But there's so many millions of sellers on customer who apparently are not using you guys because you told me you guys only have 600 brands. So I'm hoping this calculator, which we're definitely going to throw in the show notes below when it comes out in the month. And hey, guys, click on it. See how your businesses are doing, right? Connect with Shane. We'll put his socials in our show notes also, and then you'll see the benefit of going with you guys. So yeah, a terrific episode, Shane. I hope we can maybe chat again in the year when some of those secret
Absolutely.
projects that you talked about come to fruition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, man. I would love to. You put on great interviews. I've always been a fan of your show, and thanks for having me, man. This has been, I'd have to say, a dream come true. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, the dream's ours. Dream's ours. Thank you so much, Shane, and for everyone listening out there, peace out.